Hi, I'm Tom Lynch, and thanks for the invitation, Florida Watercolor Society. Happy to share with you some of my painting techniques and a couple of tricks and secrets. Well, actually, surprisingly, I'm not going to do a lot of painting. Now, I've demonstrated a lot. I'm thrilled to come to Florida and do workshops and so forth. And yes, this is going to be a demo, but I'm going to surprise you. It's going to be a demo on removing color instead of just putting down color. Now, I've been demonstrating for 100 years, I always tell everybody. So I'm trying to think, what could I do a little different, a little special, something unique that would be of interest for you. So you've got a lot of great artists that are going to be doing some start to finish demos and little tidbits along the way, but I've got a great one for you on the idea of removing dry color. Very appropriate. Now, you might make a mistake. We can remove the color, but it's actually, I build it into the way in which I paint. Yes, let me give you a couple visuals, some examples along the way, and share with you just how that works. So let's take a look up this painting. I'll share with you with a overhead camera, and there's a unique little part to this that down in that corner, let me make room there for it. Back you off just a little bit. So in this particular area here, along with this area over here, I didn't use frisket, I didn't use negative painting, I was removing dry color. I thought a very appropriate way for those deep shadows to suggest various parts and pieces. So at one time, that section looked like this. What I wanted for this painting was a strong feeling of depth. You know, so in this case, I was framing the foreground with some big darks, okay, a little accent, some big darks to make my focal point glow, and as I said, to give a feeling of distance. So what I wanted most was those dark colors, and you can see a nice variety of color. Don't get too dull and uninteresting, but now let me take you in close and share with you all of this creative process of value change was done by removing dry color. So I'm going to take you through the steps of doing that, but beforehand, there's a couple little tricks along the way that I can share with you. It's going to be important for the paper and somewhat the paint. So I grew up on Winsor Newton paint, and it's not bad paint, and I grew up on Arches paper. It's not bad paper, but it's not quite as flexible. So I need a paper where the paint doesn't soak in as far or as fast. If you use my spray bottle and big shadows technique, there's another reason I don't like the paint to set too soon. But there I'm saying, I'm using some Fabriano. I really like the extra white. I'm all about color and contrast. I mean, my paintings are meant to be showcased because of the color is, you know, exciting and has a nice variety, and that contrast really is dramatic. But aside from that, if you're going to incorporate that lifting off dry color technique, you don't want to have to scrub so hard, but you'd also like to be able to repaint where you've done the rubbing. So that's where the Fabriano paper, I like the extra white personally because of color and contrast. That paint doesn't soak in as far, so it's easy to remove the color. Pretty simple. Doesn't go too far. Don't have to rub as hard. But there's a bonus in there. They also have a strong amount of internal sizing, not just a spray on the top. A lot of internal sizing. So what does that mean? When you've done the rubbing, you can then go back, and I'll even show you here, you can even go back and do some painting. So I was able to shape and form. I was able to put this, you know, dark tree where I've done rubbing off, whereas a lot of papers, most all the papers where you've done rubbing, you can't hold an edge. You can go back and add color. So I've done some lifting off, and I went back and added a color, a tan, a taupe, or burnt sienna, whatever color in those particular areas. So that's what I like about this particular technique. I think very appropriate when you're showing some, you know, deep shadowed areas, and you like for there to still be some shape and form. But liquid frisket might be too sharp of an edge. The negative painting might be, again, too crisp of an edge. So let me share with you, I've got several examples. So as I said, instead of doing a demo about getting a painting done, I'm going to help you with removing color. I think you want to add it to your repertoire. Let's take a look here. Let's have some fun with parts. Let's say I wanted to add, to this particular waterfall scene, I wanted to add a building in the background. Now I incorporate a charcoal white pencil so that I can sketch. So if I wanted to have a building, I can draw in there and say, okay, what if we added this building here? Or what if I was to add, now this is a charcoal white pencil, and you can erase it just like a regular pencil, but it gives you a little visual. Then take your favorite brush here. I would suggest a natural hairbrush because it holds more moisture. A synthetic brush might not wet this well enough for you, and so you want to generously wet it. So here's the sequence. The timing is this. You want to wet the area that you wish and intend to do the lifting off of color. Wait 10 seconds. Now an important little element, you want to get a cloth towel that has a lot of texture, a lot of roughness. Look at all the bumps on that cloth towel. So then you blot it several times. I'm going to roll it over. That even picked up color. I'm going to roll it over again. And now I'm going to do the rubbing off. It's like magic. Now you'll have a little bit of a rough edge, but here's where, as I said, the paper is going to allow me, I'm over in my palette, be right there. My paper is going to allow me to come back and recapture a nice clean crisp edge should I choose. And so I can have that, and that edge, even though I just did it immediately, it's not feathering. So there's a benefit of that. Let's say you might want to have there be some trees, some light value trees, and it also provides a different look. So I painted some trees in just clear water, waited 10 seconds, blotting it with the towel. And now I'm going to take advantage of pressing real hard in some areas, not so hard in another, so I can accomplish a shading change. Look how the bottom of the trees, a lot of lifting, and the top, not as much. You could actually have pigment. And so now, I'll share with you in the palette, I've actually got some paint, on my brush, not just the moisture. And so I can come back in here and actually see, sometimes using clear water, it's hard to visualize where I've put the moisture. And so I would suggest being generous enough. Again, have there be enough fluid on there. Wait 10 seconds. Blot it with a towel. Even the blotting comes off. Now I'm able to do this to a painting that is years and years, or I should say months and months old. I'm going to just rub hard on the corner and not rub so hard as it goes further back. And so I can have that kind of removal of paint gradually. Now there's another little component that will come into play as far as the materials. Any brand of paint you could lift off the color. Again, the paper is going to be an important part. Other brands, so the Sennelier paint doesn't have oxgall in it. Oxgall is a curing and hardening agent, so when the color was wet and moist and I painted with it, and then it dries, as all pigments are going to dry. Other brands have that oxgall, so it's going to go beyond dry and harden or cure. So I was able to do it to a sketch that is 6 months old because the paint didn't harden after it dried. So nothing wrong with, Winsor Newton, but those colors are going to harden after they dry. And then you can't do this, a week or so later on. Let's play with a couple other ways in which you can do the lifting. There will be always that time that you wished this whole area was just a little dark. So now I'm going to take a trigger spray bottle and I'm just priming it. Now I found these at the janitorial supply house, not at your Home Depot or your office supply. Can't get them, so janitorial supply, but I found one, I wrote the name Harris on there. And then you could find that on Amazon. And so I'll put a towel everywhere because it's going to get wet. Now my point is, what if I just felt this was just a little too dark and I wanted to lightly remove some color? So you can see that there's pigment coming off. You wish that tree not to be so, and you can soften where it's done the spraying. And so there may be a time, I think I want to take away some of the paint here, so light amounts of paint, even though it's running and dripping and so forth, all you do is lay a flat towel, and you'll notice I haven't lost the edge. I have just taken away, 50% of the moisture or 75% of the moisture and the color. So I could keep on spraying and then soften it so it looks like it wasn't reworked. So there's a benefit there to take and lightly remove color in a general area. So I want to just lightly remove color, we can use the trigger spray bottle. I also use the trigger spray bottle when I want to have rays of sunlight, and I'll demonstrate that for you. So it's dry color, dry painting. Again, the paper's an issue. The paint stays close to the surface. So there's several examples where I was able to create rays of light coming across the scene. Here was liquid frisket, protected the sky, did the painting. The last thing was pulling off some of the paint for those rays of light. So now I'll control the sprayer to be a straight line by adjusting, you know, the spray nozzle. And let's find a sheet here where I can continue showcasing some of the rays of light for you. I think I'll do it on top of this one right here. And so here's the technique for this. And I'll share with you on this particular angle because you're not going to spray left and right. I'm going to hold it here and I'm going to spray going away from me. And so that's the process for removing the color, is going away. That way you'll have a straight line. So I'll give you that overhead. And so there's how I was able to spray off some of the dry color. I could make it a little lighter here. Have another ray of light coming across the top, lightly or a lot. Then it's all juicy wet. Just leave it there, lay it flat, and put a cloth towel across the whole thing, preferably a cleaner one. And so now you can capture some rays of light for you. So let's go back and play with a painting one more time on some fun things you can do with spraying off color. So here is where I'm going to end up, and here's how it looked at the very beginning. So now I can very generously do some spraying, and I can take a toothpick, or excuse me, a toothbrush, and I'll actually do some scrubbing. So I might want there to be an appearance of some fog, or I want to soften the entire part, so whole painting is practically wet. Maybe this waterfall is crashing and creating a whole bunch of turbulence. I want a little more ray of light coming across, softer fuzzy edges, except for my focal point area. Once again, laying a cloth towel across the whole thing, lightly blotting it. And you can introduce, so it's a way in which you can actually create some fog. So here I wanted to share with you some fun ways in which you can make art by removing dry color. I think are very appropriate for just a couple of highlights. If I wanted to have a few more, accents, or highlights, on the cafe, I can lift off some dry color later on. Sometimes you might want to, put liquid frisket at the beginning, but do a little bit of both. Don't just do it one way. So I'm not against liquid frisket. I should know, I use a ton of it. But it's a way in which the shadow areas, you could suggest a little different look for light trees in the distance, accents of highlights, rays of sunlight, or you just wanted to remove half the paint because you put too much down, or you wanted to create the fog and the mist. So I wanted to share with you a few techniques, but instead of start to finish and doing a painting, I'll come back. Hopefully you'll invite me again. Really, to all my friends in Florida, I wish you well. I wish I was there. I'm going to do a little more online teaching for now, just because I want to stay home, being safe and so forth, and I can have some fun. So with the online class, I can do super close-ups. You get to watch the demo again. You can press stop, pause, rewind, screen capture. You can even project it on your TV screen so the demo can be large, a nice format for you. So a lot of fun ways to take advantage of taking a class online. I hope you join me, and I hope you invite me back so I can visit Florida during the winter in Chicago. It's a good time to go visit Florida. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some painting techniques. This was fun, and instead of putting layers of color down, it will give you more confidence when you're going to paint, because you know that you could spray it off and rework it later. So get some good paper, get some good pigments that don't have oxgall. If you like some super darks, try that blue and danthorine that Sennelier has, one of my favorite colors. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in class soon. Bye for now.